Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Caitlin and today I am ranking every single palette that I purchased in 2023. Heads up, there's 34 or 35 of them I believe when I counted, so we're doing a large ranking today. If that sounds good to you, keep on watching. Before we get too far into the video, if you have not already, I would love it if you would consider subscribing. I upload videos twice a week. It is totally free to subscribe, and I would love to have you back again on the channel to talk all things makeup in the comments. So let's get into it. So this year I was supposed to be on a low buy. I say supposed to be because essentially I've tracked my spending before, but I've never limited it before. But I'm getting married this summer. So this year with wedding expenses, I was like, okay, we need to control ourselves a little bit, you know? We need to reel it in a little bit. Let's set some limits. So I did not set a dollar limit per se, but my goal was to only buy 2 things at most a month. I did not have to buy anything, you know, I could buy nothing or 1 thing or 2 things. That was my goal. And with just eyeshadow palettes alone, I purchased, like I said, either 34 or 35 when I counted them. So clearly I did not meet that goal that I set. Now I'm trying not to be too hard on myself because, again, like I said, this is the first time I've ever set any sort of limit or goal, period. And so obviously if I hit 34 or 35, there are more than half of the months that I did not stay at 2 or below on average. Now I know for my tracking most months I stayed below, and it was just a few months that I had some blowouts on, like November for Black Friday. However, on average, overall, that was an issue, and I am making it my goal to buy definitely less eyeshadow palettes this year. With me having so many, I am working on my video where I show you my entire eyeshadow collection, but because I have so many, that's been a bit of an undertaking, so it's taking me a minute. I think I'm like 60 palettes into it at this point, so enough rambling, let's look at the stuff I purchased this past year. So in the bottom was this palette. I've talked to you before about this palette if you are new. Essentially, these were sold as damaged palettes from Unearthly Cosmetics. They specifically said, hey, there's an issue, like it doesn't come off. It's like hard panned. Now I got this and the Unforeseen palette in a bundle together. The Unforeseen only has like 1 shade that doesn't work, but this one I like dug into it, and I can't get any pigment. Some of you gave me some suggestions on what I can do with it. I haven't tried that yet, but honestly, I just should not have even bought them. Maybe the Unforeseen would have been okay because a few shades do work, but I can't even find that one right now. So clearly that was just like a throwaway purchase that I didn't need to make, and I did. So lesson learned, you know, I buy stuff that says it's like damaged a lot of times, but I need to be careful because in the past when I've bought things like that, it's been an issue with the packaging, like the letters are slightly off, the sticker's not centered, whatever, but the product's fine. This was advertised as there being an issue with the product inside the formula, and I just thought I could make it work, not realizing it was as bad as it was. So lesson learned on my end. Next up is another Unearthly palette. This one also is on sale due to a formula defect in some shades, but honestly I haven't found a defect in any of the shades I've used so far. This is just ranked so far down because I honestly haven't been using that much. I really haven't. I've dug into Desdemona, Jinx, Night, Secret, and Luna. Ooh, and Opaline. I think that's it. I mostly wanted this for the yellowy shimmers. I don't have a lot of yellowy shimmers, and I like a yellow shimmer a lot. But I ranked this low, like I said, because now that I own it, I've barely been reaching for it because to me it's a companion palette. It's on its own, and I don't reach for all shimmer palettes that often. Now I have one that's ranked much higher later that is an all shimmer, but that one, I don't know, I just gravitate to that one more than this one, but I'll talk more about that one later. Next up from Saints, Angels, Sinners, I made one purchase this year. This is their Cassie palette. I'm a cat lady, of course, you know, I had to. Now, this color story is very unique, but I do like it. I like that there's a really dark matte and a really dark green, but this Pretty Girl right here is my favorite shade. I don't know if you can see, but it is like this really cool, almost like pressed flakies, and it is transparent, but it is so green. It's probably not even gonna show up, it's so transparent, but it's like this iridescent green shade that I really like, and there is a duochrome here, and Cupid Psycho is a duochrome. This one is just ranked low because I've used it once since I got it. That's it. I made sure I used all of these at least once so that I could rank them, but there are some that I only used once and literally that was it. And so I'm like, okay, unless I bought it late in the year and that's why I only used it once, like, did I really need it that much if I'm not getting into it? So that's why this one's ranked lower. Next one is also from Unearthly. Dude, no hate to Unearthly. I have a lot of palettes in here and some are ranked higher, so please don't think I'm like hating on Unearthly because I actually really like them and they're one of the brands that I've purchased from already in January. I bought the Dreamer collection, so let me know in the comments if you'd like to see a video on that collection. I have it here, it just came in. This is the In the Dark palette. I'm really glad, first of all, that they went to these smaller pans. It helped the price point a lot, and I personally don't like large pans. I'm never gonna go through a big pan, so I'd rather keep the price point down. But I just found with these being more all mid to deeper tones, limitations, the two shimmers were fine, but much like the All I Ever Wanted Volume 2, you can do something with a companion palette, right? I don't know if it's just laziness for me or what, but I find myself lately at least not reaching for stuff that I feel the need to combine with other things. I just want one palette and to be done with it lately at least. Next up from Ace Beauté is the Aura palette. I really like this color story. This is still available. It's a limited edition though. And I love the fact that we've got like purples and pinks and a red, but we've also got like this mustardy, pukey kind of fall vibes. And you've got some colored shimmers and some neutral shimmers. So this color story, love. I was just kind of like, about the formula though when I used it. Like, it was fine, nothing bad. I'm glad I have the palette. Some of the other ones I'm like, like I would be fine if it went away. I don't know if I would miss this one either, but I am glad I have it. It's nice. There's nothing wrong with it. It's not bad. It just fell in the kind of mid-meh category compared to everything else that was above it, unfortunately. Next up is a palette from Milan Row. Now this brand does not exist anymore. You can't get this palette. They closed down. This was a collab with Doodles by the Bunny called Poison Ivy. And I did a video with this. I will leave linked any videos I have of any of these either in the description or the cards. Really, this one, it's just because there's a pressed glitter. I think I love the look that I did with this one, and I haven't pulled it out again since. Now, some of that could be because I have too many palettes to get to all of them. However, there are some palettes that I used again and again and again in my collection this year. So obviously I can get to them if I really like them and I want to use them. So I think that was like partly what influenced my ranking in this video was how much did I actually use it once I got it this year. Next up from Odin's Eye is the Snow Dream palette. I got the bundle of 4. This one was just my least favorite. Didn't dislike my look that I did in this video. Really cool that they dipped their toes into holochromes. I thought it was just an okay holochrome, nothing special when I used it personally. The formula I actually really like of the shimmers and the mattes. The color story itself was the thing that was just meh for me. Next up from Ace Beauté is the Envy palette. Now this one ranked a little bit higher. I think the color story maybe just made it a little more interesting for me. I did something greeny with this one, and the shimmers were very, very sparkly. I enjoyed it a lot. So that one is also limited edition, the Envy palette, but I'm not spending too much time on it because ranked 1 higher is something they have older in their collection, and that is the Oceanic palette. I got all 3 of those together when they were having their sale in November, and this one is the one I like the best. Now this is the new formula. They do sell the old formula. This is the new one, and I think this just has more options than that smaller one, but I don't think you need Envy and this one because they both have that blue-green color story. This has the addition of some golds, and it goes a little bit lighter in the blue, so I think there's a little bit more contrast in this one, and that's my favorite. I know some people say Ace Beauté is like their favorite formula. They're just okay to me. Like, they're not bad, certainly. The shimmer's fine, but that's just it to me. They're just fine, and that's kind of how I've felt about them lately as a brand. So unless they like really come out with something that interests me, I feel like I'm good on that brand for a while personally. Next up from Huda Beauty is the Wild palette. I've been wanting this one for a while. This is the Jaguar one, and it is really, really nice. It's like this purpley neutral gold situation. Shimmer's really nice, matte's really nice. Enjoy the color story, enjoy the formula. This is the first of the tiny palettes that I've bought. I have in my collection some of the bigger ones, and I bought a couple bigger ones this year. I know some people say those are better formula. I thought the small one was fine, and it's great for every day, but I think it just didn't go any higher because even though it is good quality, the neutral was a little boring, a little, you know, one-trick pony at times, so I didn't rank it any higher. Next up from Sugar Pill is the Oh Honey collection. This palette was in collection with Trixie Mattel, came with the gloss as well. Limited edition, here we go, Trixie Mattel. But this has a blush as well. I loved this like blacky gold with shimmer in it, was really nice. And this shimmer, this queen, this gold, impeccable, very, very good. I did this bottom row with the orange and I loved the look. Loved it so much that even though I have not used it very much, it made a lasting impression and I am wanting to use this one again. I'm using one of the palettes in this ranking on my eyes. I've got a bingo collaboration with some other creators coming up on Tuesday, so I'm not wearing it today because I had to film with something else, but this is going to be coming back again soon. I really like this one. And that just goes to show something doesn't have to be shifty, multi-chromes, holochromes, what have you, to be higher up in the ranking, because that has none of those and it's still very nice. Next up from Unearthly, here we go. Here's one that's a little bit higher, the Dead of Night palette. I think I do like this one better than the Into the Night, like I said, just because there is more variety and depth. We've got some lighter shades and still the dark. This Gloom Gray shade I love so much, and I used Star as the shimmer when I used it. Liked that a lot. The deep mattes I like to use as a shadow liner, so all in all, this was great, and I felt like the shimmers were even more sparkly than the other palettes. I don't know if their formulas changed since they came out with that first one. I've heard that the new Dreamers collection is the most sparkly of all that they've come out with, so I'm very excited to get into that one, but this one earned its place a little bit higher. There were just some other formulas and textures and color stories that I liked more even than this one this year. Next up from Glamlight is the Rick and Morty palette. Now I'm not gonna lie, part of why this is ranked so high is truly just because it's Rick and Morty. If you were to slap something else on this cover, I don't know if it would be ranked as high. I'm not going to lie to you because I haven't used it too much, being that it kind of essentially is a giant rainbow palette. So that makes me not want to reach for it. I did several looks with this, something more like purpley green, blue. I haven't delved into like any of the smokier blacks or silvers or things yet, or any of the like pinks or oranges, so there's definitely more possibilities. If there's anything, by the way, in this video that I either haven't filmed with or you want to see more content with, let me know in the comments. I'd be happy to put something together for you if you've got a request. So again, this one is ranked high, I think partially just because of the theming, I'm not gonna lie, but it was good quality and I do like this better than some of the other Glamlight palettes that I've purchased in the past, such as the Ice Cream palette. So not the highest, but love Rick and Morty. Next up from Laura Lee Los Angeles is the Whimsical Nudes palette. This, again, wonderful for every day. I love the artwork that they've got with the forest on the front, and it's just that. Nudes, whimsical nudes. What makes it whimsical, you ask? I think about the 3 brownie green, you know, shades in the bottom there. It's mostly just neutral, but this is the sparkliest palette I think that Laura Lee Los Angeles has ever come out with. I think they've definitely changed their shimmers for the better. It's very, very, very reflective. They're not duochromes or anything, but it's just super sparkly. Not quite as sparkly as Glaminatrix. I think that's the most sparkly palette I have, the Nearly Natural. I didn't buy that this year, but that's just kind of the vibes it gives me. So this one's a little bit cheaper. They might still have it available, I'm not sure, but I do really like this one for just a quick neutral look. And I think I would go for this one over the Huda just because the shimmers sparkle a little bit more. They've got a little more dazzle. But I didn't rank it any higher because it is a bit neutral, and while that's fine, there are some other neutral palettes that I liked better this year. For example, this bigger palette from Huda Beauty, the Naughty palette. This one, so there's such really ethereal, nice shades like Passion. The swirled one has like this blue shimmer to it that's so pretty. I don't really care for some of the like orangier mattes in here. I haven't really used those or touched those, but there is a cream to powder, I think it is, formula in here. That's the first time I've ever used a formula like that, and I love it. I absolutely love it. This is really cool. I think there's some unique formulas in here that I haven't seen in any other brands. I've heard people talk about cream to powder formulas when it comes to like Natasha Denona. I've never tried Natasha Denona, so I can't tell you if it's similar to that. All I can tell you is that it is truly unique to my collection. I don't have anything else even similar to that. And with the collection the size that mine has gotten, that's saying something. Now that's not the highest because, you know, again, I just don't think a neutral palette will ever be my #1, you guys. At least not at this point in my life. Maybe I'll change at some point. But this Empowered palette by Huda I liked even better than the other one. I said I didn't really like the orange tones, and yet there's even more in here. How does that work out? I think this one I like them more because it is paired with more golds and stuff like that. But this one I really like because it's got two of these gel liners, would you call them? They're like, yeah, gel. So I like, again, things that it's just a quick one and done. You've got the eyeliner in with it. You've got the regular mattes. You've got several different shimmer textures in it, which I like it when there's a variety in the shimmer formula. This one is super nice. I've never done a ranking of all of my Huda Beauty palettes. Let me know if you'd like to see this, but this one's definitely up there for me, the Empowered palette. Really like that one. Next up is the other newer Christmas eyeshadow palette from Odin's Eye. This is the Hey Reindeer palette. I loved the purple look that I did with this, and that's kind of funny because when you look at this, it doesn't scream purple for sure, but there's some other shades like Presents, this blue one, that are also unique shades to my collection. I still really want to use Candy Canes. I haven't gotten to use that one. Looks really unique, and I just think like kudos to a brand that can come up with unique colors and undertones, especially for people like me that have so many. It's nice to have something that is different and not just the same shade coming out over and over. Sometimes I like the same shade over and over, so there's other stuff I did like better. Next up from Unearthly Cosmetics is The Weirdos. This one, interesting, right? It's not ranked higher because it's just weird enough that I don't reach for a ton, but I do really like the multi-chromes. Like this Glamber shade is so cool. It's really unique. It's like a deep black-based multi-chrome, red, green, gold, really fun. And the Feather, the lighter multi-chrome, really like those a lot. The matte formula is nice to work with. Some of the stuff isn't quite as pigmented on the eyes. It looks in the pan, like Snake, for example, this green. But to me, I actually like that about this palette. It just wasn't the perfect color story for me this year. Honestly, here up, it's just like I like all the palettes a lot, and it was super hard to rank them. So I just had to sit there and go, okay, if I have to get rid of one, which one's going? And I did that over and over till I got to the top. So again, I actually really like all these palettes going forward, but it's like if push came to shove, what's next list? What has to go? So next up is the Odin's Eye and Yelika Nyquist collab, the Trick or Treat palette. I enjoyed these a lot more than I thought I would. This color story I just didn't like as much. It's fine, you know, it is like the orangey Halloween, but it is quite a bit fall versus Halloween to me, which I know is what she said she was looking for because she wanted it to be versatile, but yeah, I don't know. It just, the color story wasn't 100% selling me over. And next up is the Little Ghost palette, the other one. same thing. Like these, like I like Angelica Nyquist. I like Odin's Eye. This collab was a little weird to me. I'm not gonna lie, with it being Halloween. I know some other people commented on that, and I know Angie addressed it with like who are people to gatekeep Halloween and say what it is and isn't, but I'm not gonna lie, I was one of those people that was like, I don't know if this makes the most sense, but obviously I still got it, still supported. They're in my collection, they're fine, but they're not the top for me. Next up is something quite new in my collection, and it is the Glaminatrix Cosmetics Rich Romantic Palette. I can't wait for them to restock Fairy Lights and Sugar and Spice. I missed out on those. I don't know if I've met a Glaminatrix palette I didn't like. Let's see if I can get in the sun. Oh, you probably can't even see. These, like I said, are the most sparkly shimmers. They're not the most textured. Now, I still maintain that my favorite shimmer formula is from Adept Cosmetics. These are the sparkliest shimmers. So those are the most like, they have texture Adept, so they're a little bit different. They're not as like many packed in sparkles, but to me this is how you look like you're wearing pressed glitter without wearing pressed glitter and being eye safe. This one, the mattes are just a bit too neutral to me, to be honest. Some of them are just, they're not redundant, but it's just like your typical mauve. The middle shimmers and the top two shimmers, that's what I got this for, is the shimmers. So the mattes, like, whatever. So that's why it's not ranked any higher. I love the teensy pan size. Please always make, I wish all brands made their pan sizes this big though, like that would be perfect. And this is like, I'm sure it's faux, but it feels like leather. It's so luxe. So I get why it's called Rich Romantic, and I'm really happy I have it. But even though it has special shades, the mattes are just boring. Boring. So it's not rated any higher. Next up, from Salem Cosmetics, the Forest Heart palette. This is the first thing I ever tried from the brand. I follow Smink on Instagram and really enjoy it. First of all, I love that the background of this, I don't know if you can see, but the actual like background of this is holographic. And this one, I don't know, it was just super unique. Part of it was the artwork that got me. I love fairies. I do. Anything with pointed ears, elves, fairies, you name it. And yeah, I just heard a lot about this brand. I love purple and green eyeshadow. There's some other pops of like pink and orange and some like brown neutrals to ground it. And yeah, this one, it's got that nice squishy putty shimmer formula that I like. And it's color, so I like this one a lot. But as I keep saying, there's just other stuff I liked more than this one. This one I don't think is available any longer either. Okay, we're getting a small stack left from Odin's Eye, the Merry Christmas palette. I will agree with, I've heard several other people say this, that the old Christmas palettes they came out with last year, I do think are superior to the new ones. I would agree with that if you've heard anyone say that. These are not available, so I don't want to dwell on them too long. This one, I don't go for a lot of reds, and there is a lot of like reddy orange I feel like in this compared to some other stuff. So again, not my ideal favorite color story, but definitely liked this one. Formula, texture, longevity, all of that stuff a lot. From Unearthly Cosmetics, the Resurgence palette, the Heather Austin / Unearthly collab. I've given Unearthly a lot of my money this year, haven't I? I don't know that I realized that I made this many purchases from Unearthly specifically, and I know I've bought like lip pencils and other stuff from them as well this year, so interesting. But here is the color story. Again, they've just got really unique things in this palette that I don't have anywhere else. I don't think I have this pigmented of a true red in those other palettes. I know there's like red-ish, but this is like red. Transformation is a unique shimmer to me. Creation is a unique shimmer to me. I love a matte with sparkles. I know some people hate them, but this black has like blue and silver, maybe just blue. It's hard to tell, sparkles in it. It's just so good. I almost didn't buy this, you guys. I feel about this one the way I felt about Club Nebula, Angie's collab with Kaleidos years ago, where I was like, what would you possibly do with that color story? Ew, gross. Honestly, that was my initial reaction. And then I saw people start getting them. I saw the looks and was like, oh, oh, that's what they look like when you put them together. I just can't conceptualize things very well sometimes, color story wise. I've learned that about myself. So this whole collection went on sale for like 40% at one point, and I snagged it for that price. But there are things I liked even more than that. So next up, again, the eyepiece got me again, the ColourPop collab with Sailor Moon. This is their round 2. And you might say, how the heck is Sailor Moon so high compared to some of these other brands you put lower? It's ColourPop. It's affordable, right? Okay, but they, like, to me, right, when I rank eyeshadow palettes, it is not just about the formula. That is a very important part of it, but it's not just that. When all these brands, a lot of them have good formulas, there has to be other stuff too that sets them apart, right? And packaging for ColourPop is part of it. They have the really nice textured raised packaging. It's got holographic text. There's just a lot of really nice finishing touches. And again, honestly, I don't ever use mirrors in palettes. Even when I travel, I'm doing it in the bathroom or in the hotel like bedroom where there's a mirror, whatever. So I'd rather have the price go down and have no mirror personally. I really like this color story. There's some really fun duochromes and sparkles. My only complaint about this one is you can't get depth with it. So some days I do just want a light look and I don't do any depth, and it's like not pastel, but very light looking. And so it's fine for that, but it wasn't ranked higher just because it wasn't perfect without a little bit of depth as a standalone palette. Okay, next up is from Adept Cosmetics, my highest ranking all shimmer palette this year, the Seahorse palette. Now I ranked the Unearthly All I Ever Wanted low and said, you know, I don't use an all shimmer palette that often, and when I do, it's usually this one that I'm pairing with. I think because there are so many light shades in this one, I use some of these as face highlights or reach for it for an inner corner, whereas the All I Ever Wanted Volume 2 has more lid shades, deeper things, not a ton of light stuff. It does have with some of those yellows, lighter shades, and those are the ones I've used the most. But this one is so pretty. I will say this one isn't any higher because while it's got special shades, some of the shifts in some of the shades are not super apparent. They're a little subtle, and for the price point of this, nothing should be subtle, nothing at all. So I couldn't rank it any higher for that, but I do enjoy this one a lot. Next up was a new brand to me this year from Wicked Widow Beauty, the Tea Time palette. I actually really wanted the Edward Scissorhands 2 and there was a Graveyard one, but by the time I got to them on their Black Friday sale, this was the only thing left. Everything else palette-wise was already sold out, and I really wanted to try the brand. And I had looked at this as well because this is a really unique color story. I really like the formula. I do like actually having a few really deep, rich shimmers like this in this putty formula because I don't have many like that in my collection. I really liked the look I did, and I like that this is a unique color story to me personally. I just feel kind of indifferent about Alice in Wonderland, so the theming's whatever. The quality is really nice on this, and I'm definitely going to be looking out for them in the future. Ranked so high partially because the packaging I love. They have like really cool artwork that's like, I don't know, like the extra eye and like the cat in here, just kind of like weird. I don't want to say spooky, but like a little bit out there. And so that ranked it higher for me. And again, like uniqueness is kind of key for me when I have so many different things, and this is really unique and sets itself apart. Next up from Salem Cosmetics is the Salem and the Witch palette. I liked Forest Heart enough that I wanted to try this one. This is a revamped palette for them, and it's the first time I tried holochromes. I'll leave that linked as well if you want to see it. Holochromes. I need more. I love the holochromes, but I don't think I need a whole palette for it. The rest of the palette's okay. Like, I don't know how much I'm going to reach for some certain shades like this. They're just not ones I normally reach for. The shimmers are impeccable. The mattes are fine. I do enjoy the ones that you can kind of use as blushes because I do like to use, if the formula works, high eyeshadows for blushes, and it does for this one. The holochromes are amazing. I really want to get some of the holochromes from Fantasy Cosmetica to try. Let me know if you've tried those, but this one, just because it's the only holochromes in my collection, I really like it, and I had to rank it higher. And finally, the last of the 4 Christmas palettes from Odin's Eye, the Christmas Eve palette. I think it's Color Story. The formula is really great too, but I've just been really into cool tones lately. And yeah, I love cool tones with like a purple or like a yellow, just something like cool toned with a warmer color mixed in there is really fun to me. This gorgeous shade that has like purpley and bluey and pinky shifty. I like this muted green. We've got grays in here. This one's just like a cool color story for me that I really like, and it was hard to beat, but it just barely didn't make my top 5. So now we are down to my top 5. So if you've watched my channel for a while and you want to take a guess, what do you think my top 5 are of like the newest palettes in my collection? I have filmed with I think 3 of these, so some of them you would be able to guess what you think they are. In number 5 is from Glaminatrix Cosmetics. This is the Into the Night palette. This is such a cool freaking color story, you guys. I love the packaging. I love this like anything that's like leathery with like the stitching. Just feels so luxe and nice. I feel like powerful when I hold this packaging, honestly. And then you open it up and you get this color story. How cool. It's got some deeper mattes, it's got some really bright pops, and it's got this sparkly formula. I should like ask Teresa's Dead, because I know she has a thing for shimmers, how she feels about After Dark in this palette if she has it, because that is probably the best silver in my collection. Honestly, this is just so cool. I never would have thought to put these colors together, and they just work so well. You can do something like more monochromatic if you want, like you can put the pinks together or the greens together. I actually did a Barbie look for this when the movie came out last summer, but man, this is just so cool. And it's sad because I don't think you can get it anymore, at least not in palette form. Sometimes Glaminatrix will leave the singles for different palettes kicking around for a while, so maybe you can get the singles. Man, if so, this one is, it's one to keep in mind because it's really nice. If you like color, if you like grungy neon mixing, like, I don't know, for me, this one's really nice, and it's only number 5. Number 4 is really new in my collection, but I already know it's one of my favorites. I've used it twice this year, and we're not even that far into the year. From Fantasy Cosmetics, the Rogue palette. When they had their Black Friday sale, there's quite a few palettes from them that I don't own yet, and I told myself, okay, I'm gonna let you're gonna let yourself buy something, but you can only get one palette, because I only have the Bard and the Druid. I don't have the Warlock, I don't have the Fighter. Like, there's palettes I don't have, and this is the one I picked. Man, am I happy, and that makes me want to keep going back, not only because of the cool D&D theming. I love Dungeons and Dragons, you guys, if you didn't know. I'm a bit of a nerd, okay? A bit of a nerd when it comes to that sort of thing. I love games like that. Look at her. Behold! The greens, amazing. Normally, I'm not a blue girl, but these, they're just the perfect, like, dusty undertone. Like, I can't even explain to you. The shimmers are spectacular. They're those, like, really transparent base toppery type shimmers, the ones I've used so far. I think the only one I haven't used yet is Deception. I've used, yeah, every other shade in this palette. There's not a single shade that's a dud. You know, some palettes where you're like, okay, I'll use most of these, but I probably won't use that one shade, but you know, it'll just chill there. No, I'm using every single shade, and that says something. When you love all the shades equally, how often does that happen in a palette? Not often. For me, let me tell you, just do yourself a favor. If you like blue or purple or green, get this one. Get this one, you're not gonna regret it. And you know, like many of these, it's an indie brand. Support an indie brand. I guess I could have started with that. Have I bought anything that wasn't an indie brand this year? I don't know if I have, like, at least eyeshadow palette wise. I've definitely bought things from drugstore brands in other categories, but dang, I just love indie brands for eyeshadow palettes. No one can beat them. You can't convince me otherwise. All right, in third place is, we're finally to what I'm wearing on the eyes today. This kind of murky green, super sparkly look from Adept Cosmetics. It is the Arrow Inspired palette. This one is really pretty. I've got a video going up on Tuesday with this one. I normally upload on Wednesdays, but I've got a collab with some other creators going up using this palette. I forgot how good this one was. I'm really glad I just used it before I ranked it because wow, the shimmers are spectacular. Now they've got some smooth ones in here that are really sparkly, like reminiscent of the Glaminatrix shimmers, but my favorite formula, period, in the world right now is the more like textured putty formula from Adept Cosmetics. That's just me personally, but these are so shifty. They've got more topper shades in this one. They've got really jeweled deep multi-chromes. There's some lighter multi-chromes and a row of mattes that are really nice. So man, this one is a good one. And you saw this one is more affordable than the Seahorse one. I rank this one higher than the Seahorse one. So if you're gonna spring for something, I'd say this is the one. Now I haven't tried the Sumerian Sunset or the 151 palettes yet. Kind of waiting for them to go on sale because they were pretty steep and I already bought a lot this year, but those are definitely going to have to get worked into 2024 somewhere because I absolutely love the things this brand is doing. This, again, metal insignia on here in the packaging with the stitching just makes it feel so luxe. I feel like brands doing that are just doing it right. But again, I could take, you know, the price down a little bit and just take the mirror out. Just me personally. I don't know how you feel about the mirrors. Okay, number 2 from Ensley Rain Cosmetics. This is the Flower Moon palette, and she's pure joy. She's pure joy. This one's only not number 1 because it doesn't go that deep, but I use this a lot. Ensley Rain is so an it brand right now, and for a reason. There's really not another brand doing shimmers and mattes, I don't think, like this. They're really thin feeling but buildable, which I really like. Like, this might be my favorite matte formula right now from any brand. I'm gonna go there and say that. And that's crazy because if you've tried this brand, the shimmers are outstanding. So to say it's my favorite matte formula is like, wait a minute, you're gonna say that when the shimmers are this good? Because the shimmers are amazing too. It's a high price point, but that's because they're all like shifty special shades. But this one is amazing. There's 3 palettes I want from Ensley Rain right now that I've just had to hold off on because I needed to pace myself. And you know, I already had bought too many this year, but dang, I've got to get like Cold Moon or Harvest Moon because this is from that Moon series and they're just wonderful. And I can say they're wonderful and that I recommend that brand because the number 1 palette of everything I bought this year was the Midwinter Dream. This is the first palette I ever bought from Ensley Rain and it's spectacular. It does have the depth that the other one doesn't have. Same situation where it's a row of mattes. We do have 1 extra matte up here and a matte with sparkles that the other one doesn't have. And we range from deep shimmers and shiftiness to lightness. We have more toppery, almost like pressed flaky formulas. We've got some smooth formulas. We've got some more textured formulas. This, ideal. This, best thing I bought all year. All the other palettes aside, this is number 1. And you can't get it anymore. Don't you hate it when content creators do that? But you know, I just don't want to lie to you and tell you something's my favorite just because it's available. So yeah, guys, thank you if you stuck all the way with me. I know this was a long one, but those are all of the palettes that I purchased in 2023. I'm going to be enjoying them and trying to buy less this year. What about you? For sure. I'm also planning on doing a video ranking all of the palettes that I used in 2023. Now that would include all of these palettes that I used this year, plus a lot of other ones that I didn't buy this past year, but that I did use this year. I ended up using like 100 some palettes this year, so that's gonna take me a minute to film as well. But I hope you're excited for it. I hope to see you again on the next one, and I'll see you then. Bye!